as they share the impact this university has on our beach community. I'm joined today by 3rd District Council member Susie Price, Jeremy Harris, CEO of the Long Beach Area Chamber of Commerce, and Dr. Seiji Steinmetz, CSULB Professor and Chair of Economics. Each of our guests will give a 10 to 12 minute overview of the respective areas. If you have any questions, please ask them using the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. I'll start our conversation today with Dr. Steinmetz. He's a professor and chair of the economics at the California State University Long Beach and director of the university's Office of Economic Research. Dr. Steinmetz's research specialties include transportation, urban, and environmental economics, with an emphasis on applied economic matrix and methodology. Among his scholarly achievements, including publications in leading economics and interdisciplinary journals, he's especially proud of his role in developing the annual Long Beach Latino Economic Report and the Long Beach Quarterly Economic Forum. As a first-generation college student, Dr. Steinmetz is a product of the California Community Colleges, the California State University, and the University College System. I know you'll be well-versed on this topic, so please share how the university has impacted the Long Beach community. Dr. Steinmetz.
All right, thank you very much, Austin, for that introduction. Just to let you know, I'm gonna do a quick visual. In full professor mode here, I have to put up some slides. I apologize. It's a crutch. Okay. So welcome everyone. I'm just gonna briefly, obviously I can't talk about every economic impact that the university has, but what I can talk about is the sort of definition of economic impacts and different ways of looking at our impact on the region and on the state. So first, let's start with basic bread and butter economic impact analysis. So typically when you say economic impact, you think of this sort of very business-oriented kind of a approach. And I'm gonna talk about that, but then what I wanna do is talk about really broader senses of economic impact. Well, let's start with what does economic impact analysis mean? And I'm gonna do it via this extremely creative clip art here. So the first thing we can look at is what is the economic impact on Long Beach and on the greater region of Cal State Long Beach's operations? And we mean just running the university itself. And as you are probably aware, the university is one of the largest employers in the region. There are close to 3,000 employees in Long Beach and a couple thousand more throughout the region. So in its operations, Cal State Long Beach pays its employees. So that's what this is right here. And that employee goes and uses their money to buy goods and services. All right. But also the university has vendors. The university has business suppliers. For example, they might buy computers. So they buy computers. And the thing is, when they buy computers, that then creates jobs for people in the computer vendors, at the computer industry, or every vendor or supplier, everyone in the university's supply chain, some amount of their jobs and revenue are supported by the university's spending. And then those institutions go out and spend more money into the economy. Likewise, when people are paid, they go out and buy goods and services. That creates jobs, for example, in the restaurant industry, which then creates more jobs and more spending in the economy. The point is that there's this multiplier effect that can come through two main channels. There's a multiplier effect from the actual operating expenses in the supply chain, and then there's the multiplier effect from the wages that Cal State Long Beach employees earn. So what we can do is we can measure that ripple effect and see how these effects ultimately transmit through the economy and create a giant economic impact. And here's a quick punchline. So let's look at different types of economic impacts, both on the city of Long Beach and on the regional economy, which is typically defined as Los Angeles County and Orange County combined. It's one together. These two counties are one of the largest economies in the world. So first, about 3,717 jobs are in Long Beach alone are created by the existence of the university. And by that, I just mean by the university's operations. So with that is about $192 million worth of labor income that's produced each year by the university. In other words, that these are jobs that are either created or sustained by the university's operation. And then when you look at total spending, so if you take the university spending on wages and payroll expenses, and then you take even things like student spending and student or related tourism spending, what we get is about $562 million worth of spending every year, or economic activity just in Long Beach. Or extending that out to the region, Over 10,000 jobs are created or supported by the university's operations in the region. About $546 million worth of wages are created, and the total economic impact of this multiplier effect throughout the region is about 1.53 billion. So that's traditional economic impact analysis. What I'd like to emphasize here is that's a drop in the bucket. That is so little compared to the actual spillover benefits or the actual multiplier effects when you consider all of our graduates who are going out and becoming productive members of society. If you just look at their economic impact alone, it's an order of magnitude higher than this. We just have a really hard time measuring it. In the future, we'll be able to do something like that. But I just want to emphasize that 1.53 billion is really a lower bound on the university's contribution economically to the region. And to give you a sense of that, let's talk about some other dimensions of impact. So consider economic mobility. All right, let's talk about social mobility. One of the things the university does is offers a platform to our region and to our city for taking disadvantaged students and allowing them an opportunity to climb up. What people seem to take for granted is that universities like ours, a lot of our students, they're doing their best to break their family into the middle class. All right, so consider, for example, that 32% of our students, so our current student undergraduate population, 32% are the first in their families to attend college. It's nearly a third. Over half of our students are what are called Pell eligible, meaning that they come from, they've demonstrated extreme financial need is the wording in the definition of Pell eligibility. But basically they come from low income families. Almost half are some form of an underrepresented minority, a traditionally underserved minority. Or if you were to look at the population of students that have all three of these characteristics, about 17% of our students are first generation students from low income families who are also in underrepresented or underserved minority status. So if you think about that broader economic impact, the impact of economic mobility is, it's very difficult to measure the value of it, but I can tell you that it's going to be more than $1.5 billion per year. In fact, it's no surprise that Cal State Long Beach ranks 7th in the nation. Out of 1,458 universities, Cal State Long Beach ranks 7th in the social mobility index. And to give a sense of why that is, I mean, tuition is relatively low, while early career salaries are relatively high, with a relatively small debt burden owing to the relatively small tuition. Right, so think of that's a major impact, is this platform that the university serves as for the region and for the city in helping its residents climb up. And then finally, I'm gonna give you what's not often thought about but should be thought about more, I believe, as an economist, are what I'm gonna call external economic impacts. All right, to just give you a loose example, what makes you decide to get a flu shot? Why do you go out and get a flu shot? What makes you take a needle in the arm? Well, typically it's because you want to reduce your chances of getting the flu. So your reduced chances of an infection is what economists would call a personal benefit or private benefit. In other words, you're going to make your decisions to get a flu shot based on whether or not your chances of getting less of a chance of getting infected, or perhaps you care about your family not getting infected. But the thing is, if you get a flu shot, you're lowering your chances of infecting everyone around you. In other words, there's the spillover or external benefit that results from your flu shot. You're creating this external benefit that didn't even enter your decision-making process possibly, and you're creating a positive impact on society. And it should be noticed that because people are generally motivated by personal benefits, that perhaps there's a need for public investment to encourage an optimal amount of flu shots, considering the great social benefits they create through this external health effect. Well, college is the same way. What makes you go to college? Typically, it's how much am I going to make, or maybe my social status or something, but it's usually a personal decision. But when you go to college, when you go to Cal State Long Beach, you have a positive impact on society that maybe you weren't even thinking about. You're more active and informed in your voting. You commit less crime. You're a more productive and value-adding member of society. You're less reliant on social assistance, and of course, you innovate. You create ideas, you create technology, you create knowledge in the economy that spills over throughout the economy. And over 350,000 CSULB alumni generate external economic impacts every day. So it's not just about what is the increased productivity of each individual, it's what is this multiplier effect from each of our alumni that is really bolstering the growth and social cohesion of our city and of our region. And I think I'm out of time, so I will leave it at that. But hopefully that sets the stage for some of the broader senses of economic impacts we can talk about today. So thanks for listening.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. State.